Really appreciate everyone being here and your understanding. Actually, we have our amateur scouting staff in town, and the guys broke for lunch and broke to watch practice. So we all got nestled in here, ready to watch practice like you did, and there's no practice. So, but I understand Scoop's logic; it makes perfect sense. And we have had a difficult road trip as far as travel, like what could go wrong as far as customs, weather, delays, which there's nothing we could do about. They're going to bed every night at 3 o'clock. And then we're asking them to come and practice hard, morning skate hard, and play hard. So we were worried about last night's game as far as coming off a long road trip, a lot of late nights. And it wasn't perfect. There was a lot of mistakes made in the game, which makes it very entertaining from a fan's point of view. But from a coach's and from my point of view, there's a lot of things in the game where like, oh God, we can't play that way. So, but we're thrilled with the effort they put out, and we're thrilled with, like, it was an entertaining hockey game. A lot of good things to be had with it. So I understand Scoop's decision and support it. So hopefully you understand, and I'd rather you be angry at us right now than tomorrow night after the game. So, and I hope it's not both. So anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about our team, our plans forward. We have, this week we've got our amateur scouting staff in for our mid-season meetings. They're all here. We're kind of putting the board together, the list together for the draft, and they'll spend the second half of the season. They kind of, in the first half, spend the time identifying who are the players that we want, who do we like, who do we don't like, and then they spend the second half of the season really getting those players that we like in order of where we like them and which round we'd like to take each player with. So we wrap that up today, and then next week, Pat Verbeek will come in with the pro staff, and we'll start to get ready for the trade deadline, preparing players of interest to us at the trade deadline, addressing any particular needs we feel we might have, and then putting a list together of the potential free agents for the summertime, guys that we'll have a list of players that maybe we'd have interest in, and then they'll spend the rest of the season. They'll spend the next month watching for the trade deadline, and then after the trade deadline, their whole time is focused on the free agents for next year. So we got it's a busy time for us. It's kind of an exciting time. After tomorrow night, we have our 5-day break for our players, which comes at a good time because we're getting our schedule is busy, playing a lot of games, seeing guys banged up a little bit, a player here or there missing a game, playing with some minor injuries. So they'll enjoy the break. For myself, Syracuse plays tonight, then they play Friday, Saturday, and Monday afternoon game. We'll get a chance to do a little bit of amateur scouting and go and see Syracuse play. And then we're right back. We have the pro scouts coming in Wednesday. So our players get a nice little break. For our group, we'll be pretty busy this week as well. So, health-wise with our team, I can tell you Girardi is more of a precaution that we're keeping him out. Whether they'll decide tomorrow whether they play him or not. And then ultimately we have a 5-day break. But we got fortunate there. Believe it or not, you get a slap shot in the neck and you think that's a good thing. Because if you would have got it in the face or in the front of his neck, he could have been out for a long, long time. So we got lucky there. Everybody else is doing relatively okay. Gudai has a undisclosed injury. He's got an ankle injury. It's not major. We don't know if it's 4 weeks or 8 weeks. And I think we're right around 2 weeks right now. So Louis Domingue came in and played extremely well in Detroit. And our schedule is light for the next couple of weeks, but we'll expect to see him in a couple more times. And getting that second goaltender to play well is crucial for every team needs it because Bassey wants to play every single game. You ask him, he's going every night. And it's kind of the attitude you want, but you need two guys for two reasons. One, you can't afford your goaltender having off nights. The players, they don't have their legs every night. That's what we have for the forwards. That's what we have good D for. And if the D are having an off night, that's what we have the goalie for. The goalie's having an off night, you're in trouble. So we want that your starting goaltender to be fresh as he can, as fresh as possible every night. And then you need to play your backup enough that he stays sharp, because they just sit there forever. They're not going to be sharp. So it's a kind of a bit of a juggling act. I don't know what the right number of games is, but if you ask Bassey, he needs 82. And then the playoffs, but he's this pretty special guy. But we're hoping Louis can give us quality starts, and based on what we saw in Syracuse and based on what we saw in Detroit, he certainly deserves to get in there again. I'm happy to ask or answer any questions you might have about the team. Yes, sir. Okay. Dolly, he's going to be the first consensus first pick in the draft.
Probably number one.
Yeah, he's going to go number one. It's going to, you know, I'm not planning on getting into the lottery. So the only other way we could do that would be through trade. And honestly, I don't know, believe it or not, I don't know that whoever has that first pick or who might have that first pick today, like nobody will know until they do the lottery. Even at that point, I'm not sure, we don't know how good that kid's going to be, but he's a great prospect. But for the first pick in the draft, I'm not sure any team, apart from me doing something ridiculous to get that first pick, which served no purpose, there's nothing I could offer them that to get that player. You know, unless you're talking Bassi and Cooch. He's really good. There's three or four players in the draft that are going to look like are going to be really special players. Based on where we are today, we're expecting to make the playoffs. You know, when you make the playoffs, you're 15 or 16, 15 to 31 or whatever it is. That's where we're going to pick, and these kids will be gone. Yes.
But it feels like the last quarter of the season, the playoffs, and fair. To me, is this really a war game?
The question was, we play a fast game. As the season goes on, into the playoffs, it seems like the bigger, stronger teams are more successful. Would we try to change our lineup at all? Honestly, I'm not looking at it necessarily to get bigger or stronger. I watched the Pittsburgh Penguins win 2 Stanley Cups. They did it on speed. You know, who did they add? They added Gensel, who's Yanni Gord's size. He's 5'10", 160 pounds. He's really good. Connor Sheary, he's Tyler Johnson's size. To me, sure, would we love every player to be 6'3", 220, skilled, have Kucha's skill and speed and Stammer's shot? There's 3 of those guys in the league. You know, we think our players compete really hard. Competing hard is more important than being big. I'm not worried about the size of our team. You know, we've got a couple kids in Syracuse that we're hoping I expect to see up here at some point that are bigger guys. You know, what we do want to is we want to, in a playoff series, we want to wear the other team down a little bit. It doesn't mean just running everybody. It's just big and strong and competitive. You just physically wear them down. So the emphasis in our league about being big and hard has changed. Like, we watched the game, we had our whole scouting staff here. I'm like, guys, watch. Like, there's hardly a body check thrown in the league anymore. Like, because you get a penalty every time you hit somebody. You're penalized for being hit too hard now. So it's more about speed. Like, checking is more done with your legs now, with positioning. And that just means that you got to skate, you got to get in front of people, because you can't use your stick. If you touch his glove or get anywhere near his glove, you're getting a slashing or a hooking penalty. If you put your hand on a guy and he's got a step on you, whether you, like, holding has now become touching. If you touch a guy, that's a holding penalty. Like, the rules are out of whack, and it makes it really hard to check. It makes it really hard to physically wear teams down. You wear them down by just being relentless and being fast and competing hard. And it's harder than ever to be a hard competitor, because you get in the corner, you're fighting for a puck. Next thing you know, you got a slashing penalty around going, you know. So anyway, to answer your question, sure, we would love to have big, huge, but I'm not sacrificing a really good player just to get big. Yes, sir.
Rules changing.
I don't see that we've changed the rules so dramatically in 10 years, and this year, you know, it's all about the slashing. A few years ago, it was hooking and holding. The game has changed so much. In my opinion, the best thing we can do is just leave it alone. Like, leave it alone. Let's get adjusted, and to some extent, with slashing, with holding, with hooking, with interference, I believe we've gone too far. Like, you got it. It's a competitive game. It's, you know, we talk about competitive players, intensity, hard and fast. when they don't call a bunch of silly little penalties, some of you were probably here from the Minnesota game, watch that game. It was painful to watch. Like, it was penalty after penalty after penalty. Like, and they weren't. What happens when you're on the power play? The game slows down because it's played at one end of the ring. We love to see Stammer and one time in the top corner, but it slows the pace of the game now. One team shoots it down to the other end, sit here and wait for you at the blue line to get in, set up. It's not as fast as when the game gets going, when the referees let the guys play. I'm not saying don't call penalties, but our standards, in my opinion, are too extreme. And every time you lift up a guy's stick, it's not a hooking penalty. Every time you, I don't want to call it slashing, but stick check the player, it's not a slashing penalty. And we've taken our standards to a level, in my opinion, that is unrealistic.
It takes away from what we all remember hockey was when we were young. And takes physicality out of it. And it takes a lot out of it.
Again, I think from when I started in the league in '83, like, it was, the stick work and was vicious, you know, like the slashing on your wrists, hooking and holding. The league has done a great job, okay, like as far as eliminating the hooking, holding, interference, the bad cross checks, like the vicious part of it, they've done a good job at that. I just think we've gone too far with the standard. Like, you've got to be able to hit a guy, you've got to be able, you're allowed to lift up a guy's stick. You need to use your stick to knock the puck off a guy's stick. That doesn't mean you slash him. We've just taken it too far. You know, the better referees, they kind of get it. To be honest, some of these younger guys, they've been trained just to call penalty. That's a penalty. This guy fell down, it's got to be a penalty. You just sit there and everybody in the building's looking around. So, anyway, I didn't want to get into bashing the referees, but it always ends up bashing the referees. Let's get the next question. Yeah. The question is, like, the length of time in last night's game from when they challenged the call on the Kunitz goal to when they make their decision. It takes forever. When they're supposed to have 35 seconds from the minute the puck goes in the net to they're dropping the puck in 35 seconds. Well, that doesn't happen. And the referees give the coaches as much time as they kind of need. Within reason to make a decision. So you see them all sitting there on every goal. They're sitting down, they're staring at their iPads. We got our video guys in the locker room on the headsets saying we should challenge this. They're buying as much time as they can, but that drags on. But as far as the decision, I was sitting up in a suite last night watching the game. I didn't have the view that they had in Toronto, so I don't know what they're going to call. Our guys downstairs had told Coop on the bench, they're going to call this one back. It's offside. They had a different view. There's cameras you see right up at the blue line. TV doesn't use that camera. They have access to it. They don't use it for whatever reason. So our guys downstairs had it. Toronto, they're looking at it from every angle. What the odd part about it is that you got the guys in Toronto and they got all these TV screens. High def, they're huge. They got it. They're assisting the linesmen and the referees that are down there on a little tiny iPad. And if you use your phone or your iPad, and as you expand the screen, the clarity gets worse and worse. And we're on the Kunitz goal. That puck was like, it was the right call to overturn it. That puck was like that far on the line. It hadn't crossed the line. It couldn't have been any closer to being onside. It wasn't onside. So they just go over and over. So to answer your question, as far as I'm concerned, take as much time as you want. If we're going to do this, you better do it right. And that's kind of what I think Toronto's logic is that, hey, we're going to spend as much time as we can, because we don't want to spend 7 minutes doing it and get it wrong. So, I don't know. I thought my logic was, without seeing it, was, well, if you're taking that much time, it can't be a clear decision that we're going to overturn it. I asked the league to send me the video. They sent me the video, and I saw it. I'm like, I didn't have that view. You have the clear view. You got it right. But it's not good. For me, my opinion, if I had, if I had the final vote, the only thing we'd use video review for is did the puck go in the net or not? Did it cross the line? And I would get away from it for offsides, because we had an offside in Ottawa where it was a 3-on-2, we're down by a goal in the third period. Hooch, Stammer, and I don't know if Kunitz or Vladdy was on the line with them. These are pretty good players going in on a 3-on-2 in a 1-goal game. They called it offside on Stammer. He wasn't even close to being offside. But I'm saying, okay, are you going to give us that 3-on-2 back? No, it's not reviewable. So it only works one way, and I don't think that's right. The goalie interference for me is too subjective. But anyway, when we vote on these things, there's 31 general managers that vote. You need a majority to win it. I only have one vote. I didn't win, obviously. So I don't know. I'm okay with it taking long. I don't like it. Just get it right. If we're going to do it, we got to get it right. Yes, sir. All right, can't hear you. There's somebody cleaning something down there. Could you yell it out? Are we going to be the 95 team? Our 95 team went to the finals. It was a lockout year. It was a 48-game season. We got to the finals. 95-96 was, we lost in the semifinals to Colorado. I think we had 126 points that year. I know you did. Detroit team in 95-96 lost in the third round in 6 games to the Colorado Avalanche. We finished first overall. Are we going to beat them? I want to exceed them in the playoffs. We get 120, 125. To me, we put ourselves in a position, goal number 1. Let's get a playoff spot. That's goal number 1. Then goal number 2 would be, let's finish as high in the standings as we can. And that would be, let's win our division. And then goal number 3 is, let's win the conference. Goal number 4, let's win first overall. Then you have home ice all the way. The number 1 priority is just getting in. It's going to be difficult to, what are we on pace for now? Roughly, we're on pace closely for 62 wins. It's going to be difficult just looking at our schedule, the number of road games that we have coming up. It's going to be hard to do that. It's possible. Ultimately, whether we have 115, 120, 130, I'm more concerned about the way we play, honestly. Last night we won. There's some circumstance which I'm happy we were able to win that game. Wasn't necessarily thrilled with a lot of the things that happened in the game because we won 5-4. We had a ton of chances. I would have rather we won 5-3. The 4th goal bothered me. Not so much it was a power play goal. I would led up to the power play. I wanted to win that game 5-3. So, to answer your question, if we do great, again, there's no guarantee. We could win it out till the playoffs. There's no guarantee we're winning the playoffs. We're winning the playoffs. Well, without being too specific, we need to improve on face-offs. We need to improve our penalty kill. What are we? I think going into last night's game, we were 18th in the league. Those are 2 areas that are kind of defensive responsibilities I want us to improve upon. The other area I want to improve upon is part of the way we play. Like, we got a lot of skilled guys that make plays and it's entertaining. I want to see us cut down on our turnovers, like the low percentage plays, I guess, particularly at our blue line and their blue line. Low percentage plays that get you back checking too much, get you hemmed in your zone. So those are the areas we need to address as far as specific. Hey, I need this player or that player. We need to be a better penalty killing team. We need to be better on face-offs. The managing the puck part as far as turnovers, we can do that with the group we have.